Kerr, the arts editor for the Conway Daily Sun, and I'm joined by
Sarah Rozene.
The artistic director for the Barnstormers Theatre.
Yes, indeed.
And we're here to talk about the season, which is opening Thursday.
It is. We are opening on Thursday with Camelot. But it is a pared down Camelot that, you know, if you had seen the tour or the original Broadway production with Richard Burton and Robert Goulet and Julie Andrews, this is an 8-person version where characters are playing multiple parts, but it is also still the Camelot that everyone knows and loves, with all of the wonderful music and the love stories and the jousting and all of that.
And the betrayals.
And the betrayals, of course. We can't forget the passionate betrayals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how's it going?
It's going really well. I'm really excited about this cast. Clayton Phillips, who is known to the Barnstormers and really the area, is directing. And Jordan Onquist, who I think you had here last year when he was directing.
Yes.
He is in the show. And then we have 7 new to the Barnstormers actors who are joining us. Stephanie Lynn Mason and Rob Richardson are Guinevere and King Arthur, and then Todd McNeil, who is out of Boston, is our Lancelot. So it's a very exciting, fun show. And, you know, we are in technical rehearsals and we're getting ready for an audience.
Yeah, and, you know, we'll get into the rest of the season, but the Barnstormers, and what season is this?
This is our 94th season.
And what the Barnstormers does, it's kind of a dying art form, is the summer stock theater.
Yes.
In the past, it was 1 show a week.
Yep.
Now it's expanded. It's
Yep.
1 show every 2 weeks, which is probably a little bit easier for everybody.
It feels luxurious. I started when we were still doing 1 show each week. And a new show every 2 weeks feels like a luxurious length of time to be able to rehearse and then put a show up and then perform it. It is, of course, still very fast.
Oh, yeah.
The actors only rehearse for 6 days before we go into technical rehearsals with all of the lights and sound and costumes and props. And so it is like jumping on a moving train is the analogy that I like to use, but it is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of love that goes into it that's behind all of it. So yes.
And a lot of times one actor will be in 1 show and then rehearsing the next.
Yes, yes. And actually our Guinevere, Stephanie Lynn Mason, is going to be in our 3rd show this summer. So she's in multiple shows just like that. And yeah, so it is a fun time, but it is a very quick-paced time.
Yeah, and I think that extra week, it's good for me, because in the past, if I were to review a show, I didn't review them because it would get in the paper and then it would be gone.
Then it'd be over. Yeah.
And also I think it gives a little bit of extra time for word of mouth to build, because
Yes.
somebody will see a show and then it'll be like, oh, it's gone. The
Yep.
next one's already there.
Yep. Yeah, it does. And that is, you know, the main reason that we started doing it over a longer period of time, so we could build that word of mouth and get more people in. You know, there are, like, as times change with how people vacation and how people go to theater, you know, we've wanted to evolve and adapt with that as well as the Barnstormers as a company.
Right. And Barnstormers is the longest continuous summer stock.
Summer stock, yes. We've taken, I believe there were only 2 years that we have ever not produced theater. One of those years was during World War II, and the other was in 2020.
For obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. So what is the 2nd show of the season?
The 2nd show of the season is Educating Rita, which most people might be familiar with the film by the same name.
Yes.
It is a comedy by Willie Russell. The film starred Michael Caine and Julie Walters. And while we couldn't get them, we do have Dale Place, who has been with the Barnstormers for many decades and has a vibrant career in Boston and New York City, as well as Sarah Corey, who folks might remember from last year if they saw Nonsense. She played Sister Mary Amnesia. And she is a wonderful actress who works from Washington, D.C. I mean, she worked in Florida last year too, but she works in Washington, D.C. You can see her in the fall at the Huntington Theater. So, you know, two wonderful actors that we are just so lucky and thrilled to be working with. Yeah.
And for those who don't know, because actually I haven't seen the film, and that's one of those ones I tried to find. It's unfortunately not a film that's like readily available.
Yes.
You'd have to know what it was.
Yes.
And then you can find it for like a digital rental or something. But so for people who wouldn't know what it is, what is the premise?
Yeah, so it is about it's about two characters, Frank, who is a professor of literature, and Rita, who is a hairdresser, who starts taking classes and looking to not necessarily better herself, but become more worldly and more educated. But as is so often the premise with these types of shows, they both learn a lot from each other.
Right.
And it's really about you know, that power dynamic of does being a highly educated person make you better than someone else, or can you learn from someone who you would least expect to learn from? And it is very funny. So it's a good show. It also has, you know, that the thing I love about comedies is when they also have a way to connect to the heart of an audience.
Yeah.
And this show certainly does that as well.
Great. And who is directing that one?
Dory Robinson. Last year, she co-directed Fully Committed, starring Doug Shapiro. And the year before, she directed Silent Sky. So she is no stranger to the Barnstormers as well.
And those are two excellent productions. Those are probably two of my favorite all-time productions.
Yes, she is an incredible director. And so we are so lucky to have her at the helm of this show as well.
And then the third?
The third show is a show I'm very excited about, not just because I'm directing it, but it is George Brandt's Into the Breaches, which is a show that was more recently written, but it is about a group of women in World War II who, in order to bring the community together and have an uplifting event, they decide to put on Shakespeare's Henriade plays, which sounds like it's a lot of boring Shakespeare, which is some people's assessment. I love Shakespeare myself, but I do recognize that it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But this is a play that George Brandt wrote based on a actual story of a group of women in Portsmouth, but he wrote it, not in Portsmouth, excuse me, in Providence, but he wrote it so that theaters are given the ability to set it somewhere closer to home that would resonate with their audience. So we are setting our production in Portsmouth.
Okay.
And, you know, it talks a lot about the community of, you know, of a wartime effort really rising up to come together to support one another. It also features women's contributions during World War II really heavily. But it is charming and funny and uplifting. It has it ticks all of the boxes. And that is a cast that I am also I mean, I love all of our casts, but I'm just especially delighted to be working with the cast on this show. Longtime Barnstormers, Dee Nelson, Bob Bates, Jean Mar Brown, Madeline Mabey, who hasn't been with us for a couple of years because she and her husband had the great fortune to move to London. And this will be their first time back since 2019. Lisa Kate Joyce, who has been in a number of our shows. Stephanie Lynn Mason, who I had mentioned previously as Guinevere, she is in the show as well. And then a newcomer by the name of Peyton Pugmire is joining us. And we also have a woman from New York whose name is Sabia Michelle Derry. And I am just thrilled to have all of them with us up at the Barnstormers.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Portsmouth switch makes a lot of sense
Yes.
because that was a major port.
Yes, I mean, and I'm learning. I love to do the research behind a show, and I'm learning so much about the naval shipyard. I grew up in southern Maine, so it's like also feels like a little bit of like hometown research in a way. But I'm just so happy to be able to like bring it to our area and like have that tie in to New
Yeah.
Hampshire. Yeah.
And then the fourth.
The fourth show is, of course, we couldn't do a season without
Well, the
annual Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
So we are doing Go Back for Murder, which, I mean, what a great name.
Yeah.
And it is along the same lines of a traditional Agatha Christie murder mystery. There is no police inspector. There is, however, a savvy solicitor, and it is about a woman who discovers when she comes of age that she has a letter from her mother from beyond the grave, and her mother had been convicted of a crime. And this letter from her mother says, "I did not kill that man." And so she comes to England and meets all of the people who were there on the day of the murder, and then asks them to reenact that time, and we end up getting consumed back into the past. So it's a really fascinating premise, and it's full of, you know, all of the best parts of an Agatha Christie with red herrings and intriguing characters and, you know, you blink and you miss it type of details that end up factoring in.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where it's sort of like, I wish people could see it more than once so that they can now pick up on all of those
Right.
details that they might have missed the first time.
And I love that when Barnstormers does Agatha Christie, they dig deep into the catalog instead of just doing like Then There Was None, Mousetrap,
yes.
Murder on the Orient Express, which are great.
Which
but
are wonderful. But yeah, this is a fun one. I think the last time we did it may have been the early 2000s.
Okay.
So we have done it before, but it is a fun script. And Dale Place will also be in that show, as well as some other folks that people might recognize. Ryan Halsaver, who was in Baskerville last year as Watson, but also Penny Purcell and Jordan Reeves, who has been on stage with us many times. He is directing the show.
Okay.
So there's a good mix of returning Barnstormers and some new folks as well, and it's just I'm excited about this Agatha.
And Doug Shapiro's in that
And
one?
Doug Shapiro is in that
Can't
one.
forget Doug
No, we
Shapiro.
can never forget Doug Shapiro. Doug is in that one. So is Harley Seeger, who I think was last seen in Laughter on the 23rd Floor, which was in 2019. And a bunch of newcomers as well. Bill Moodis, who is also in Baskerville, is joining us for that show. He plays Doug's brother.
Okay.
So we've got some great casts for these shows, for sure.
And then you're wrapping it up with?
The Kate Hamill adaptation of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, which is certainly not the Pride and Prejudice, you know, the classic BBC Colin Firth version. It is quick and fun. The actors who play Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy are the only two actors of the entire cast who only play those roles.
Okay.
So everyone else plays everything else.
Okay.
And it is...
And I love those kind of shows.
Yes. It moves very quickly. Blair Hundermark is directing it, which I think will be perfect because he is so adept at those quick-paced, multi-character comedies. And he loves the show a lot. So that also, I think, speaks to the directing. When a director really loves a show, there's some little extra magic that comes into it. So Robert St. Lawrence, who we know from our stage, is Mr. Darcy. We do have a new actress joining us as Lizzie and Boxley Bowles, but she knows both Sarah Corey and Jordan Onquist. And so, she has a Barnstormer connection. But John Long is in that show, Rachel Alexa Norman, Lisa Kate Joyce as well. Sarah Coombs is back. She last choreographed Lucky Stiff 2 seasons ago, but she, of course, has been seen on our stage many times. And we are just really excited about that show. I mean, everything this summer, but closing it out with so much fun.
Right. Closing it out with a classic, but with a twist.
A classic with a twist, which is sort of what all of these shows this summer are about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then you have some other kind of fun things going on in terms of concessions.
Yes, we have, as our marketing director has put in our newsletters, we have reached the 21st century, and we will now be accepting credit cards at concessions, which is our biggest exciting thing. For those of you who don't have our newsletter, you can sign up on our website. But Doug Shapiro is also running concessions. We have added some beverage options. One of those is hard cider from Crucial 10, which is absolutely phenomenal. We have beer from Tuckerman's Brewing. We have lemonade and cookies, as we always do. We also have iced tea and Arnold Palmer's. And we, again, are partnering with Lauren Barrett over at Whippletree Winery, which is a Tamworth winery. And this year we're working really closely with her, and she has curated a wine or two for each of our shows, in addition to a classic white and a classic red option. So there's some really exciting...
And those are themed specifically to the shows.
Specifically to the shows. So for instance, for Camelot, we have what we are calling a passionate proposition. It is Lauren's wine that is called Passion. And, we went to the winery and we sat with her and talked about each of the shows. And she said, this really seems like it would work with this. And we had a tasting, which was, a benefit.
Yeah.
And so we're really happy to partner with her. And we will have, hopefully over the course of the summer, some tastings prior to shows so that you can come and sample and say, oh, I really liked that. Maybe I'll get a glass at intermission. And so we are nailing down the dates for those, but we're really excited to be able to work with local businesses and partner with them and support them.
And then there are some other things you're doing like outside of the main stage, right?
Yes, so we have expanded our shoulder season. And our first show this year was a Nashville review with Jonathan Sardi. And that was as early as the middle of May. We were in there May 19th for the performance. But we have Cold River Radio Show coming back in the fall. We have the Harp Twins, who we had last fall, and they're absolutely amazing. They are 2 twin sisters, as you might imagine by their name, who play some of their own original music, but also amazing covers of sometimes heavy metal on classical harp, on electric harp. It is so cool, and they are such great performers and entertainers. We are also doing a drag show to benefit the Tamworth Community Nursing Association, who is opening their new facility on August 3rd. And that was a show that sold out last year. And so we are thrilled to be able to bring that back with different performers and really featuring them. So we're really excited about our shoulder season expanding and being able to feature local artists. And to be able to bring more audiences in to the theater outside of those 10 weeks during the summer. Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a reading thing that you're doing as well?
Yes, oh gosh, we do have a busy summer. We are hosting a drama book club at the Cook Memorial Library that Doug Shapiro is hosting, and it is free for anyone to come to and join. That is on Monday, July 8th and July 22nd at 1 p.m. at the Cook Memorial Library, as I said. And I'm curating for that first one a one-act play that people can come and read a part, or 3, depending on how many people show up. And then on the 22nd, we are doing a very, very special community reading of a play that was written as a love letter to the Barnstormers and to Tamworth, that we hope to produce fully next year. And that is a show by the name of The Final Act, and it is by longtime Barnstormer Jordan Reeves. And it is about a community that has a professional theater who is putting on a murder mystery.
Sounds familiar.
And someone actually ends up getting murdered. So we're going to read a chunk of that so as to not give away any type of ending. But we want to have the folks in Tamworth have the first look at that, because it is so special and it is so heart forward for the Tamworth community and the Barnstormers community.
And with something like that, is it still kind of being worked on? Like, could there be feedback given? There
could be feedback given. There could be some changes that happen before, we fully realize it in a coming summer. So, that's, for me, really exciting for people in the community to be able to have that, to give that feedback, and for us to be able to take it in and listen and know how they think things would work better. It's really exciting.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So tickets are available at the website.
At the website.
BarnstormersTheatre.org.
Yes, and it's theater spelled with an R-E.
Right.
Yep.
And can people call, or is it just preferred?
No, people can call Rebecca at the box office, 603-323-8500. She will return your call if she does not pick up the first time. But yeah, we will do tickets online, even in person. The box office is open almost every day of the week, unless we are changing over shows, and then it's closed on Sundays. So she is always at the box office. If the sign is out front of our theater, she is there.
And shows are daily except closed dark on Mondays.
Dark on Mondays.
And on the 4th of July.
And on the 4th of July, yes.
Yes.
Mondays and the 4th of July, and we have 2 shows on Saturdays. So, and a 5 p.m. matinee on Sundays.
Okay. And you can get the dates for all these shows at the Barnstormers website, where you can get tickets or you can call. So make sure to check out some of these great shows this season.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.